Wednesday down. Last really full practice for us. So hopefully we're ready to go. This is a team with really good players that has played good at times that sure isn't happy about last week. So everyone come in here on fire, and I'd like to say we're really healthy from the bye week, which a lot of times is the case that actually isn't. We've, got 3 starters out with different injuries that occurred last week. So is what it is. Guys got to step up and be ready to play.
Neil Starsall.
Hey Lane, obviously half the league or so is out this week with COVID stuff. I was just kind of going to ask for an update on y'all's situation.
We have a couple. I think we have 3. So, that's probably not all bad compared to a lot of people. And somehow, we tested Monday and Tuesday, and somehow had no negatives, which is great because I was very concerned with everybody gone for the weekend, not being around.
Are you surprised that around the league this has become such a problem this weekend in particular? I mean, given the fact that everybody had been testing for so long over the course of the year?
Yeah, I haven't followed it that much. I just heard, but it's not like everybody had a bye or something like that. So I think the teams, were just playing. So I'm not really sure. This is probably more what maybe was expected to happen, and really hadn't that much, because kids probably did better than maybe we gave them credit for, in handling this. And I don't know the numbers too. I mean, it's later in the year, so I initially thought, it had to do with COVID with, a certain amount of players and positionally, but I guess it doesn't just have to do with COVID. So if guys are injured, that counts the same, I guess, which I didn't know that initially. I thought it was going to be, okay, hey, COVID, because everybody has injuries, throughout the year. But I guess that injuries are counting in those numbers, those, mandatory numbers that people can get out of playing. So, I don't know. Maybe some people don't want to play. Maybe their season's not going good. So, who knows?
David, go ahead.
Lane, you talked a little bit about this on Monday, and I'm sure you've been on both sides of this coin. But what about the difficulty, if it's you, or the advantage if it's your opponent, of really not knowing who that quarterback is going to be, and the special skill set that each quarterback can bring to a game?
Well, that's always difficult. That's why I like when we play both ours. So people have to prepare for them because they're so different. That's always the case, with quarterbacks when you don't know, especially if the players are different style players.
Nate, go ahead.
What is kind of your evaluation of those 2 different quarterbacks there?
I think, up and down throughout the year. The Colorado State kid played really well at times and then struggled here as of late. So, these guys can run the ball really well. I remember watching the other side of the ball, watching them against, we were getting ready for Vanderbilt, and they did a great job running the ball that day. So, anytime a team can run the ball well, especially when we've not been good at stopping it, we're going to need to do that regardless of who's handing it off. And the style that Will plays, and, you got a lot of I think they've had a lot of games here lately in 50s and 60s play counts, which I think is, how he likes it, kind of old school, and probably see a lot of that, especially with us being a tempo offense. So, we've got to get off the field.
Go ahead, Nick.
Lane, you talked earlier this year about the group chat that you and Will and Jeremy and Kirby and all those guys have. Just curiosity, who initiated that? How did it come about? And just how active is that group message?
It's a good question. I feel like I initiated it, but I don't know that. I think it was a lot more active in preseason with, everybody trying to figure out what we can do, scheduling and COVID and, what are you hearing about this and scheduling and all that. So I think it was really active and we had more free time then too. I think it's died down a little bit, especially with, I think all three of them lost last week, so they've been pretty quiet.
Go back to Nate.
I guess the three of you, other than Will, were kind of there around the same ballpark with Coach Saban, and Will's there when he's at LSU a lot before. Kind of what different experiences did he have with Coach Saban?
I haven't really talked to him that much about that. You probably have to ask him. Kirby's told me a few stories, but I can't tell him. There's actually some really good ones.
Go ahead, David.
Lane, you said Monday, as the week progressed, you know more about your place kicking situation. Anything else you can share with us on that today?
Well, since they're not saying who their quarterback is, we're not going to say who our kicker is. We'll really get them. But they'll obviously know in warm-ups because now we have to go out there, so we won't be able to hold it a secret.
Back to Nick.
This is kind of a recruiting team building one, but when you're out on the recruiting trail or this year when you're doing Zooms and all that stuff, how valuable is it having guys in the NFL who are making headlines like Metcalf and A.J. Brown are? Is that an asset for you guys recruiting, or is that something that doesn't ever come up?
I think that's a little bit. I think that's more when you were there, I don't think a kid really chooses a school because a player played there, But I think it's more if you coached them, we can bring it up, whatever. But I think it's of more value when, you coach somebody, say, okay, we coached this guy, and here's what he was coming out. He's comparable to you or whatever, and here's the process of the 3-year process of getting them to the first round. So I think that matters a little more. Maybe there's a little bit if you're recruiting an in-state player and there's a great player that stayed home, so it just gives them, an example to say, hey, you don't have to go to wherever, Georgia, Alabama, LSU, or whatever. You can stay right here, and it's been done before.
Neil, go ahead.
Lane, I meant to ask this a minute ago. I'm sorry. With all the games being postponed, is the time of your game Saturday been talked about being changed, or are you guys set for 6:30?
I have not heard anything about that, so I assume we're still set.
Back to Nick.
Off that, just assuming you haven't heard anything about the Texas A&M game next week being in jeopardy at all.
I have not. I don't. You guys would know more than me. I don't even know which side canceled these games. Of the teams, or if both were under their numbers, or if one coach didn't want to play, so because they don't like where their numbers are at certain spots or injuries or how they're playing.